Hello everyone and welcome back to Eternal Darkness. Last time we witnessed the rather disturbing end of Roberto Bianchi, an Italian architect. You could say that his end was quite reminiscent of this particular painting over here, but now we can see that there's rubble falling from the ceiling in this very room. And Alex can try to survey the area. An unseen force guides Alex's hand toward the painting, compelling her to look behind it. She reaches out and pulls back the painting and discovers a chapter page hidden behind it. A sense of familiarity overcomes her, and as the chapter page counts to her fingers, so does the realization that Roberto's spirit is aiding her. The new chapter page is entitled A War to End All Wars.
The Black Guardian grows restless, my liege. Its hunger increases, and the binding continues to weaken. We feed it flesh, but I fear it will not guard the relic too much longer.
There is no choice in the matter. It must remain and guard the artifact until the time of planetary alignment. After that, the Guardian may return to its lair. Our master does not like failure. It is imperative to keep the binding intact.
Then we have to find more flesh and bone.
So, in another quite gruesome scene, we see that Pius Augustus and his lackeys are having trouble keeping the Guardian bound to guard the artifact. So, we all know where the next part of our story will take place. The question is, when? Well, if you know your history, you know what the war to end all wars means. Let us begin.
The war to end all wars redefined how mankind looked at war and the value of human life. Over 19,000 men lost their lives every day in the trenches of the Somme. Some say uselessly, some invoke a higher cause. I read accounts of the slaughter from many journalists who spent time in the trenches, but I found the account of a certain Peter Jacob to be the most horrible of all. His implication about the ancients' involvement with the war was hideous and so obvious. With the horror of the Battle of the Somme scant miles away and the distant echoes of pounding artillery, a young journalist named Peter Jacob researched his latest story from the front lines. His grim task brought him to Oublie Cathedral, now transformed into a field hospital.
I find no solace in the purpose behind all the senseless violence that surrounds me. Young men die at a rate unheard of in centuries of warfare. Shelling, machine guns, and mustard gas rip, pierce, and burn their flesh. Men soak gauze in their own urine to stop the insidious gas. The hospitals here cannot cope with the torrent of wounded.
And here we are, France, First World War, and that last scene was of particular interest. We clearly saw a man, still alive, being dragged not in the only functioning hospital tent, but further back. And what is this? The soldier's letter lies on the table, waiting to be sent home. Let's read what it says. First letter from Private Reginald Jackson to his love Margaret. I was admitted to this hospital on Tuesday. The damage caused to my legs was slight, but there is no way that I could ever walk normally again. I hate this place. Every day I'm reminded that I will never be able to do the things I love. The hospital is a very strange place. Converted from an old cathedral, there is an odd atmosphere around it. Silent but for the words of the wounded, calling out in the night. There is no doubt it is haunted. What I find most odd in this place is that you never see anyone leave during the day. It's not right. No goodbyes or farewells, just an empty bed when you wake. Well, we know what's happening because we, as observers, know what has been going on here for centuries now. Covered with blood-stained sheets, these poor souls have passed from this world. For them, the suffering is over, but for those around them, the ordeal continues. Now, the Battle of the Somme was mentioned, which was one of the bloodiest and most filled with casualties battles in the entire history of warfare. 3 million soldiers took place in the battle, of which 1 million were killed. You can see that the Oublie Cathedral has become a field hospital. What better place to take flesh and bone for the Guardian? The guard shifts about, obviously bored with his duty and awaiting a replacement, or perhaps a call to arms. He won't let us go in there, huh? Can we get out of here? With the war being so close, a curfew has been imposed. Traveling outside the hospital is not a safe thing to do, since intruders will likely be shot on sight. Peter decides to remain inside. Let's see, can we go upstairs? Stacked deeply on the landing, crates of medical supplies await use. Syringes of morphine, bandages, tourniquets, antiseptics. The list goes on and on. With a motherly voice, the nurse advises that Peter get some rest. Oh, we didn't check out what Peter carries with him. A lucky penny. An old coin, marked in a peculiar manner. It has held sentimental value for someone. Whoever holds the penny will undoubtedly receive good fortune. Oh, yes indeed. Being entangled with the ancients is certainly good fortune. And we have his flashbang. This is a photographer's flashbang, used to hold combustible powders that, when ignited, create a large white flash. This can be used to stun some enemies. And 5 helpings of flash powder. A pouch of flash powder for use with a photographic flashbang. Alright, let's see. As you can see, the place is full of the beds, the tents of the hospital, of the field hospital rather. Let's see, is there any changes to where the custodian was? What's this? A soldier's letter sits atop a crate of medical supplies. Second letter from Private Reginald Jackson to his love Margaret. I've been here for over a week now, and there is no word when I will be allowed to leave. Strange things have happened. At night, the sounds of the hospital change. Echoes of voices that don't belong to anyone haunt the walls and corridors. The restless ghost, perhaps, or sounds of movement or whispers. I have seen war firsthand, and the sounds at night in this hospital scare me more than I ever thought possible. What is going on here at night? Why do I feel so threatened? My fears are worsened by the talk of the other young soldiers. One said he had heard cries for help in the middle of the night, cries that were only answered by snarls of rage and not compassion. Another said Lance Corporal Haskell had not been discharged, but had gone missing. I stare at his empty bed with a sense of unholy dread gnawing at my heart. Unfortunately for this private, powerless to do anything. The bell is still here, though. As you can see, our young man, Peter Jacob, is not quite athletic or stable-minded, but he is strong-spirited, which leads to a large magic pool, if and when we get our hands on the Tome of Eternal Darkness. Nothing to see here anymore, so let's head downstairs. He's also quite fit. He can jog for quite a long while before tiring. The faint sound of moaning emanates from behind the linen veils. Whispered utterances, frantic prayers to loved ones, words offered only by those who face their mortality. Can we check this guy here? The soldier is rather distressed. Perhaps he has lost a lot of friends in the trenches of the Somme. He confides that the only stories are sad ones, and that the only true heroes are in the mortuary. That is a grim truth, unfortunately. How about this guy? Still alive, my friend? Perhaps the other side? Can't do anything to him. Let's see. Oh, well, look at this. An odd collection of colored lines decorate the wall. Below the design, steps appear to lead up into the wall, going nowhere. I'll have to find a way to solve this puzzle of sorts. Now, this guard frowns and ushers Peter away from the organ. He explained that it is one of the few antiques in the region that has so far survived the war, and that while he's alive, it will remain intact. Too bad. How about you? Can you do anything for us? The guard quietly but strongly points out that the area is off limits to civilians. What can we do? The altar is cleared of all valuables, not only to prevent looting, but also to afford space for medical supplies and even as an operating table should the need arise. Peter finds a sealed envelope that seems to have been left behind. Well, let's open it. We are a journalist after all, and it looks rather official. Some soldier's orders. An official note on Army Regulation Stationery. The note reads, Private Thompson, by order of Lieutenant Hargraves, on behalf of His Royal Highness George V, you are to leave your post of duty and rally in the street outside Oublie Cathedral. Further orders will be presented at the rallying point. God save the King. Well, we know a guard was itching for a fight, awaiting orders. The cathedral's tabernacle is fashioned from aged, varnished mahogany. Its doors are closed, and there doesn't appear to be any way of opening them manually. Well, we don't care about this for now. Let's just give the soldier his orders. Perhaps we can then explore and see what's behind him in that room where Paul Luther was being held in custody so long ago. Almost what, 7, 8 centuries before? Alright, take these. The guard unfolds the orders and begins to read them before exclaiming, Bloody hell, lad! We must be on the offensive! Following the orders, he takes leave of his post. Okay, time for us to check the insides of this chamber. Designed to master patriotic feelings, these posters declare that the Allies are fighting the good fight. It's small comfort for the occupants of the room whose spent corpses lie the cold cathedral floor. Aha! A revolver lies abandoned on a nearby pew. Let's pick it up. Oh dear. I had hoped to examine the corpses here. Stacked like logs, Peter stands before the price of human war. The bloodied corpses of young men who have made their ultimate sacrifice to defend their own countries and those of others. Well, time to get out of here. But what awaits us is not the other side of the door, but the other side of the veil. And here, we can see the statue of another sacrifice, Roberto Bianchi. He died for nothing. He died a gruesome death. Cradled in what appears to be a leathery hand lies a mysterious book. It is bound in human skin and intricately decorated with shrunken bones. It beckons and yearns to be possessed. Damn it. Everything's gone to hell. Oh crap. We have a bone thief. This Lebel Model 1892 revolver was introduced prior to World War I. A double-action pistol with a 6-shot swing-out cylinder chambered for 8mm French service ammunition. Let's equip it. Let's just avoid this little bastard here. Get away from me. No, crap. Things are going from bad to worse. We don't have a melee weapon to chop their heads off. Oh, dear God. Dear God. Move. Downstairs, go. Luckily they can follow us down. They can't follow us down here. Fucking rat. It's quite dark in here, isn't it? Gotta find a way to restore power here. Can't see anything except for some ammunition. Some rifle ammunition. The workings of the pipe organ have remained mostly the same since installation. Originally, the bellows were driven manually. Now they are steam-powered and the organ controlled electrically. This might be one of the oldest restored pipe organs in the world. Indeed, it might be. Might very well be. But I think this is as good a place as any to stop our adventures for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Till then, take care.